Knicks and Bruises, we are back. Thanks, you guys, for joining in. I got my good friend, my next guest, Mike, in the building. Mike, how's it going?
Great, great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Former coworker, former boss, actually, hired me at my current job. Um, Kind of hit it off right off the back, man.
Yes,
You
we did.
I had a Knicks hat on. He asked me if I was a Knicks fan. He's a Knicks fan, and the interview went great.
Yeah. A lot of people give me a hard time, said I only hired you because you were a Knicks fan. And I said, if you see his experience and his resume, I knew I was hiring him before he even came in.
Well,
But
I
the rest was
appreciate that.
fun.
The Knicks. It was like icing on the cake, you know,
Absolutely. I had no
icing on
other
the
Knicks
cake.
fans there at the time. So it
um,
was definitely nice.
but yes, I appreciate you coming on. We've spoke about me doing this podcast before
Absolutely.
it came into fruition. You gave me ideas, you supported, and it's been a long time coming. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on. Um,
no problem. I'm glad to do it.
and we'll get the real episode done sometime later in the week where we could
Perfect.
talk about the Knicks and the Bruises. Today we're gonna talk about the current roster, a little bit of summer league. Have you watched any of the summer league?
No, I'll read articles after the games,
Okay,
but I
okay.
haven't been watching.
Well, I'll fill you in on a little bit of what's been going on. Um, and then we'll talk about the upcoming season, things that we're
Okay.
looking forward to, some matchups that we're looking forward to, a bunch of things. So, summer league quickly has been playing point guard
I
um
like that.
throughout the summer league. Obi has been playing significant minutes and been doing his thing. And then we have I'm gonna talk about the two main draft picks that will be with the team at some point this year. And I'll talk a little bit about a big man we got named Sims. So first, McBride, right off the back, he's a Tibbs guy, defensive point guard, can shoot the ball well, and he's been shooting the ball well, during these summer league games. Um, Quentin Grimes, a two guard. I think he's about 6'4". Um, Another guy that can shoot the ball. Another 3-and-D guy. Kind of got off to a very slow start in the first couple games. Picked it up in the last two games. Um, and the last game he really picked it up. I think that was his best performance. I think the two rookies combined for 51 points
Wow.
between them um, in the win. Quickly sat out that game. Um, Obi's been showing a lot of aggression, which is
Good.
great to see.
Yeah.
Um, so they lost the first summer league game, and the rumor is Tibbs pulled quickly and um, Obi to the side and let them know that you guys are the leaders of this summer league team. You have the experience.
Okay.
We're gonna lean on you, and you got to show these guys the way. And since and I actually missed the first game, so I can't really talk about the performance. But I've seen every game since, and quickly has really been doing well. I think he had one bad game that I seen, but shooting the ball well. Couple of 8 assist games back to back.
Wow. Wow.
Um, it was a nice thing to see, especially since I think a lot of the talk last year was quickly is not a point guard. Um, so
Yeah.
I like him getting those reps. Um, I think we got a big man named Jericho Sims. Shout out to Uncle Fulio Josh. He was one of the maybe the only guy that I heard talk about this guy Jericho Sims out of I believe he's out of Texas. But 6'10", big man, um really efficient down low, um super athletic, and I think he's going to be a real solid pickup I think he's on a two-way, so he'll get a couple stints with us before they got to make a decision whether to bring him up. But all in all, man, I think the summer league has been great. I think we have a game tonight at 7. Um, it's been great experience for Obi for quickly getting significant minutes, being leaders in the new role, and bringing the young guys along. And it's been good for the two young guys that we have. So I'm excited about them. One good thing that I really want to emphasize and point out is this roster is still a veteran roster. This is one of the first times that we have rookies coming in that I think the expectation on them won't be high. And well, let me rephrase that. They won't be relied upon to to take on too much of a responsibility.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's one thing that I think has been missed throughout the league and over the years. Rookies used to have time to build and become the players that they're ultimately going to be. Nowadays, people have a short time span, short window. They want them to produce immediately. They lay you
Right.
bust immediately. So I think this is one of the first times in a long time that we can let these guys grow organically, slowly, and not be relied upon to do too much. Um, I mean, that's my brief summary. Not so brief summary of the the summer league, but you said you missed the game, so I wanted to fill you in real quick.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
any questions about summer league or anything
No,
you?
I don't watch summer league anymore because I get too upset when they don't play well, and I don't think that's necessarily the point to summer league. I think we're seeing who is worth bringing forward in that. So that's I stopped watching it, so I don't have to get upset over games that really in the long they don't mean anything for the regular season or for playoffs. So that's why I'm not. I just read up about them, see who played well.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let me shout out a couple of guys in the chat. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I got Cuts, Nicks, and Kicks and Nicks. Salute to you, Anton Lee. Salute my guy Chop Low. Salute. Who else we got here? 19 comment NYC 84. Salute. Anybody I missed? Salute, man. Your blackest time. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Where are we now? Let's talk about this upcoming season. Um, let's talk about let's start with the roster changes.
Okay.
How do you feel about the additions and the subtractions that we got this year?
I'll miss. I like Bullock. I'll miss him. I thought he was a good player for us last year, but I think he's replaceable at the same time. Um, as far as I'm not a big Fournier fan. Um, I know he's torched us plenty of times, but who hasn't in the league? Um, but the guy can shoot, he can score. So I think that's an area of need for the Knicks, without question. And the Kemba signing, I mean, if you can sign Kemba Walker for $10 million a year, you do it. I think it's great. Um, and I think it's going to work out. I'm hoping it works out between him and D Rose, um, being able to split time. Like neither one has to play 35 minutes. So I think for their health, I think that's a good thing. Um, so as far as those two, I think overall they're good moves. But like I said, Fournier, I wasn't having a celebration because we signed him, but I think he'll do okay. Mostly defensive concerns with Fournier.
Agreed. I tell you what, when first what before the Kemba signing, oh man, it was kind of bleak for me, man.
Right.
um, I appreciated bringing guys back. I did.
Hmm.
I think chemistry is maybe the most underrated aspect of the game right now. A lot of people think you could just throw talent on the floor and it's gonna automatically result in wins. But if you
Right.
really look around the league, that hasn't been the case.
Right.
Um, at least what I like to say is the teams that are assembled that way with the super teams and ultra talent, most of the time they don't win that first year. You know what I mean? It's the
Yeah,
second year. You go back to Miami, they didn't win to the second year. LeBron and the Lakers, his second year.
right.
Um, I think there's a list of about 4 or 5 teams. I'm drawing a blank right now, but it doesn't usually happen in one year. Kawhi was the anomaly that went to Toronto, won it, and but for the most part, it takes time for that chemistry to build, and I think that's what we're hanging our hats on, bringing everybody back, pretty much running it back for the
Yeah,
most part. Chemistry. Um, Fournier, I wasn't super high on him, but I wasn't down on him either. The way I was looking at the off season overall was I just want to upgrade, and with that mindset, I had to be pleased. I think Fournier is arguably just as good as a shooter as Bullock, and if you're gonna say he's not you particular, but if someone's saying he's not, well, then I would argue he has more shot creation than Bullock, which
yeah,
you can't argue. And then that's what we missed in the playoffs.
absolutely.
He was stuck being a catch and shoot guy, um, with little to any spacing or ball movement. He couldn't put the ball on the ground. Um, Fournier can, 3 level scorer.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, we did lose a little bit in defensive end, but I think at this point I'll sacrifice that, and knowing that Tibbs is going to be hard on these guys to keep that intensity up. I think maybe it's not going to be that big of a blow.
yeah, yeah. That's my hope as well. Tibbs, you got to play defense to be on a Tibbs team. So hopefully we see improvement from him there.
Um, One concern that I've had um, is I feel like now RJ is going to have to be our best perimeter defender, or he's going to be put into that role.
Yeah,
Um, he had some tough matchups last year that I questioned. Why is Tibbs putting him in that position? And I think this year it's going to be that night in and night out. So I'm a little
yeah.
concerned.
I like his work ethic, though. I think he'll rise to the occasion. He's not going to shut everybody down, but I think he's capable. You know?
And that's exactly where I was going. He's not going to back down. He's not going to shy away.
Yeah.
Even this past season when he was put in that position, he he did his best, and at times did better than I thought. So I think that's only going to help his growth in the long run.
I
Um,
agree.
so it may be a little hard to watch at times, but overall, I think it's going to be a good turning point for him. And then Kemba, what can I say? Like you said,
Right.
I think it was 9 million. Yeah, 9 million.
Yeah.
Like Kemba for 9 million. I don't care about the injury
Right.
history. I mean, it's a low risk, high reward.
I was going to say the exact same thing. It's not a long term commitment. If he's 75% of his all star self, we win. Like it's good for the team.
I think his numbers last year was 19-4-4 or 19-5-5. It was like 4 point something and 4.9.
Yeah.
And that was considered a bad season and one of his worst seasons.
Yeah.
Um, can you imagine? Like,
Like, was Alfred Payton given anything close to that? You know, it just wasn't happening.
so I love it. And I mean, granted, we got the same type of concerns with Derrick Rose, and before the Kemba signing, that was my biggest concern. Rose is gonna have to play 35 minutes a night.
Yeah.
y- You know, um, now these guys could split that evenly. And you see, quickly got his reps in, so that could cut it down a little bit in spurts.
Yeah.
We had Burks, who played some point guard
Yep.
last year.
He played
So
well at the point.
I think overall we're in good shape. Lot of depth all of a sudden at the position that we
Yeah.
were worst at for probably the past 10, maybe 15 years.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Um, I mean, minus here and there. I liked Felton in both his stints.
Yeah.
Obviously, Stephon Marbury, one of my favorites. Um, but yeah, we've been lacking a point guard, and we got a few now. Um, any any off season moves that you wish we did, or any moves that you think we could still make that you would look forward to?
I like Miles Turner's game. I think he's one of the most underrated guys in the NBA at the center position. I think he's a top five guy easily, if not higher. Just what he does and how he plays. I would love to see a trade that
Mm,
brings him to New York. I'd give a first round. I've seen a trade saying Knox and 2 second rounders. I don't think that would get it done. I would do that in a heartbeat. I wouldn't be afraid to throw in a first round pick to get Miles Turner.
okay.
I'd do it in a heartbeat personally.
And I mean, I've been hearing that buzz for a long time. A lot of guys really like Miles Turner. I like him too. I would not be opposed to it. Um, do you include Mitch in that deal?
I would offer Noel first, but I think I would. Um, and I love Mitch, but I think they do. So if you lose Mitch, lose the 3 point shot blocking. I don't really see Turner doing that. Um, but I think I would do it overall because you get more offensively with Turner, and he's just as good um,
Defensively.
defensively, especially down low. If not, he might even be better around the rim in terms
Mm.
of his size and his strength. I think he's beats Mitch there.
I, I agree, and I love Mitch too. And I've been one of the guys that say you can't move Mitch,
Yeah,
but I mean that changes our threat level
big
overall.
time, big time.
Overall, going
Yeah,
forward, and he's a young guy as
yeah, he
well.
fits the
So
timeline.
I have no arguments with that move if it's possible. Yeah, it's a no brainer. I mean, I mean, I wish we could still have Mitch too, but I think
Yeah,
I think they don't make that kind of move without asking
right.
for
They're
Mitch.
they're not going to give him up for nothing. I don't think Knox gets it. I don't think Knox is really appealing to many teams now. He didn't play a lot last year. I don't think put it like including him in a trade is going to get another team to say, okay, yeah, we got to have Knox. You just don't know. He's an unknown.
Yeah, and it's sad. I mean, I was looking forward to seeing him in summer league as well. And he got hit with the COVID protocol.
Yeah,
So sad to see. Um, I can't even, I don't know if he gets an opportunity. Um,
who do you play him over?
moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless he shows tremendous change in the defensive end, because I think
yeah,
offensively, I think that'll come along regardless of what. I think if he could become somewhat of a skilled defender, locked down in a certain area, I think that's the only way he gets minutes
yeah.
at, at this point. What do you think about Frank? No more Frank, man.
You know, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I was a big Frank fan. I was one of the guys that said, "Give him a chance, give him a chance." But at some point, like he had chances. I know, like the argument is from his hardcore fans is that he didn't get a chance, but he get into a game. I think last season was the best. And is that good enough? His defensive effort and defensive abilities, I think, were there, but he, he didn't look for his shot enough. There were so many times he'd have his shot and he just didn't take it. And it's the NBA. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You get a shot, you take it.
He
You know,
wasn't even passive aggressive. He was just passive.
just passive. Yeah. So, I I rooted for him. It didn't work out. We move on, and plenty of guys to root for now.
Absolutely. I tell you what, Mike. Wait till you see this kid McBride. Wait, wait till you see him. You're gonna love his defensive effort.
Good.
And 3 and D at the point position.
That's
You know what I
beautiful.
mean?
Yeah.
And not a bad facilitator. He has limitations in his game. I think he's 6'2", six
Okay.
three maybe. But has a 6'8", 6'9" wingspan.
Okay. Wow.
Um, and like I was telling you off camera, he picks up the full length of the court.
I like that. I
You know,
miss guys that do that.
and it's very few of them in the league today.
Yeah.
And he's one of them. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. Um, the kid Grimes really had a good game last game. I'm hoping maybe he found his niche. Moving forward. Um, but again, like I was saying, the fact that we don't have to rely on these guys, like like they could grow slowly and progress into the guys that they're ultimately going to be. I think that's the most beautiful thing about it.
I agree. It's lower pressure.
Yeah,
It's all go out and get it.
yeah,
You got to like. I'm a big fan of. You got to take somebody's starting job from them, or you got to take their role from them. You want to get on the floor. You got to earn it. I like that.
and that's the way it used to be. That's the way I think it should be.
I agree.
Um, any matchups or games that you're looking forward
Yes,
to
I
this
can't.
coming season?
I can't wait for Atlanta. I want Atlanta bad. Um, I'll give him credit. Trae Young, I think. Well, you've always said guys are made in the playoffs. That's when you become a superstar. I think we saw that with Trae Young this past playoffs, not only against us, but against Philadelphia. Um, he was just amazing. What can you do besides just tip your cap to him and say, great game? But that being said, I think he's a villain now. I cannot wait to get Atlanta because I think we can beat them. We held them to the lowest scores of anybody in the playoffs.
Mm.
I think defensively we're a nightmare for them. But it just they locked us down offensively, and now we've addressed some of those issues. So they're number one on my radar.
I I can see it, and I ain't mad at it. We definitely improved. So that with that being said, and the fact that I mean, great stat there. We held them to the lowest points per game in the playoffs. Yeah, run it. Let's run it back for real. Let's see them
Yeah,
again. Regular season and playoffs. Let's
it,
I, I
I think it's going to be a playoff atmosphere when we play them at the Garden.
it
I
has
think
to
a
be.
lot of fans. I think we could have beat them. I think we had enough to beat them the way that we played defense. It just, Randall had an awful series. It's hard to get mad at him when he played so well all year. And that's what Atlanta's defensive strategy is shut down Randall and make somebody else beat us. And we didn't do it.
100%. I love this talk, man. I love talking with
I,
reasonable and not over the edge Nick fans.
we're trying
you
to
know,
keep it reserved here. I don't want to.
um. So my matchup that I'm looking forward to is Kemba versus Kyrie. Um, I think
Yeah.
this is the battle of two of the best handles in the league. Definitely, you could argue Kyrie's top best handle in the league.
Yeah.
Kemba has to be, if not two, definitely in the top five of best handle in the league. Um, two um, New York City kids for the most part.
Yeah,
New Jersey, the Bronx. Um, oh man, I can't wait to this matchup. Um, I mean, granted, it's gonna be the Knicks and the Nets, but Kyrie is gonna have to play some defense, probably for
yeah,
he's never had to play that type of defense against us,
right.
and he was always able to just play free and just put on a show.
Yeah,
But we got a show on our side now.
yes, we do. Yeah,
Oh man, that's the yeah, that's the matchup that I'm most looking forward to. And honestly, I can't really think of. I mean, maybe Steph. You put Steph up there as far as handles. Um,
yeah.
maybe you put him in front of Kemba. But I don't know who else is in there. Who else is in that conversation? Um,
With those guys, that
I,
nobody. I mean, they're the best of the best. You
so
know.
that's the matchup. And then as far as like team matchup, um, last year in the playoffs, I was screaming that I wanted Miami, and people was looking at me like I was crazy. Miami got a lot better,
They did. Absolutely.
a lot better. But I think I still want Miami. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting them in the second round and maybe beating the Hawks in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't be afraid of playing teams. Um, at least the guys on the roster can't. I think that they want them too, because I think there's people that are saying, Miami definitely jumped ahead of the Knicks in terms of how the season's going to end out.
Hmm.
And I think if I'm a player on the Knicks, I want Miami too. Like I want to show no, they gotta take our spot from us. We were the 4 seed. If Miami wants to be the 4 seed, they got to take it from us. So those could be some exciting matchups too.
Agree, and that's a great segue for expectations for this upcoming season. Um, I've been one to say that we overachieved
I
last
agree.
year. Um, I was one of the few guys that didn't look forward to the Atlanta matchup per se. And my logic behind that was if we were the fifth seed and they were the fourth seed, I would have felt a lot more comfortable. I didn't like facing them with the home court advantage. I thought they were a nightmare matchup for us just because of the shooting they had all across the board, other than maybe Capella.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
Everybody else could put the ball on the floor and shoot the ball. I didn't think we would lose 4-1.
Yeah, I didn't see that
I
coming.
didn't necessarily think we would lose. I just thought we all season long we had that underdog mentality, and as soon as we got that home court advantage, it kind of we kind of lost that underdog mentality. I thought we lost it as a team a little bit. We were a little
Yeah,
little confident, little overconfident. But also throughout the media, throughout the the fans and in general consensus was um we weren't the underdogs going in.
right.
And I think we played a lot better with that underdog mentality. I say all that to say it's gonna be tough for us to get that fourth seed again,
I agree.
and I hope the consensus as a fan base isn't a failure or a regress if we are the fifth seed or the sixth seed. Um, because I think that's where we are. Those are my expectations. I don't expect home court advantage, but I expect to avoid the play-in tournament.
Yeah, I think if we have to play in, I think that it's a letdown, somewhat of a failure. Like we maybe underachieved. But yeah, I think 5 seeds reasonable expectations for this team. I mean, we have some quality players. We know what they're capable of. This is year 3 for RJ. I don't think, given the teams that are in the East, yeah, 5 seed is realistic. I think, I mean, maybe it's a 6 seed, but I think there's, if we finish the 5 seed, I'll be happy. I think it'd be real hard to exceed that.
Um, any concerns with the roster, with the team in general, um, moving forward?
I guess I'm a big IQ fan. I think Quickly is like, I'm huge on him. I think he has his game is. I don't think he's ever going to be a Dame Lillard or a Steph Curry or even a Trey Young, but his game is similar to them. And what I love the most about this kid is he takes floaters or threes. He doesn't waste his time taking mid range shots. Um, he has seems to have infinite range. I'd like to see him get more time because I think he can be explosive and put up a bunch of points in a hurry. I think he needs to be on the floor a lot more than last season.
And I think one, him playing at point guard in the summer league, I think that is a sign that they may rely on him a little more, and that in turn will give him more minutes. Playing on ball, um, when need be. Um, the funny thing is, Tibbs had the mo of not playing rookies, and and quickly,
Right,
he really got minutes. Like, he really was relied upon last year. Moving. I mean, I think last year we probably needed him on the floor a little bit
yeah,
more, just because he can put the ball on the floor. He's not just a spot up shooter. Um, but defensively, I think that's what might have. How do you justify taking him out and putting Bullock in,
right,
as as far as what Bullock did defensively?
right,
Um, but I think he will get a little bit more minutes. I don't know what he averaged last year, but if it was 12, it'd probably be up to 16. You know what I mean? If it was 15, it'd probably be up to 20.
yeah.
Um, I think he'll get more minutes. And any other concerns? Let me interject real quick, because you brought up Miles Turner,
Yeah,
and one of my main concerns is the center position, and I only say that as far as like offensively. I mean, we did great with those guys last year. Um, I expect and hope Mitch will be healthy of a full season or close to it this year. But when I look around at the roster, excuse me one second. Savvy D, welcome.
How you
Um,
doing? What's up, fellas?
it's my good
how you
friend
doing?
Mike. Um,
Pleasure, pleasure.
so
Likewise.
I was just giving some of my concerns about this coming season, and I'll let you jump in and give some of your concerns as well. Um, but center position, or when you look at the roster, I think everywhere on our roster except for the center position, we have guys, veteran guys, that are actually gonna make some of our younger guys better. Going at, you got Quickly learning from Kemba and Derrick Rose. Um, you got Grimes learning from Fournier. You got, I mean, RJ. He's gonna learn from everybody. He's a sponge. But you got RJ. You got Obi learning from Randall. I mean, these are guys that are gonna go at each other back and forth all year long and make each other better. Um, I don't know how much better Noel is gonna make Mitch. And I say that with all due respect because I mean he could teach him how to maybe stay on the floor a little bit more, teach him some different defensive techniques that maybe Mitch still has to learn. But they're kind of like equal in value of players. You know what I mean? Um, so I say all that to say it's interesting that you brought up Miles Turner, especially if we were keeping Mitch and having Miles Turner on the roster, somebody that could teach him some offensive moves, some footwork thing. Um, so that's like my only concern is how much better is Mitch gonna get learning from Noel, or even vice versa. Like defensively, I think you know, they'll mesh and learn and feed off each other that way. But offensively, I'm super concerned. Like, where's the growth gonna come from? Noel's been here 7 years. Um, Noel's been here 7 years, 8 years in the league. His offensive game hasn't really improved. So that's my only concern. And I love those guys. I love what they do defensively. We can not rely on the offensive game per se, but I think ultimately we need to bring in a big man who has some type of offensive game. Maybe he could get you 15. You know, he don't gotta get you 20, but he could get you 15 on any given night. And I don't know that Mitch or Noel is that guy, but playing with a real point guard like Kemba, that might change. That might get them to 10 to 12 points consistently. Um, but that's my slightest concern. That and like I said, the RJ um, guarding the best perimeter offensive guy all year long. Savvy D, and what's your thoughts on your biggest concerns coming into the season?
Well, it's perfect that you were just talking about the five position because that is my biggest concern coming into the season. I'm real nervous about the future of Mitchell Robinson with our team. I really like that kid. I want to keep him. I want him to be healthy, and I want him to just get like stay on track with what he was doing. He was getting better and better each time he came out on the floor, and we have Noel, and now we got this Miles news, and then he got injured as soon as he got back. So I'm just hoping that we still have a place for him, and he manages to make it through, I guess, the cutting process. You know, I like what Nerlens did for us, especially defensively, but offensively, I really missed the repertoire that Mitch brought to the table, and I just wanna, I just wanna keep that continuity going with him. It broke my heart to see him get hurt the way he did. You feel me? And I feel like he might have been a decisive factor in changing the outcome of that Atlanta Hawks series because I think he would have given Capella much more problems than Noel did. You feel me? And I feel like that would have opened up other possibilities. Granted, we didn't have performances that we needed from other guys on the team. And one of those guys was RJ. RJ, I'm not too worried about in the long run, but I don't see I don't see the clear cut direct mentor. As you say, he learns from everybody, and he's been hanging out a lot with Julius Randle. But I feel like if we would have managed to get some more attitude on the team, I really liked what Marcus Morris brought culturally. You feel me? Like Marcus Morris had that dog in him, had that tenacity in him, had that attitude that I felt like, man, an attitude like that for RJ would do wonders. You feel me? And if we would have kept him just a little bit longer, I feel like that would have had more time to imprint, but you saw even after moments of failure, missing a big shot at the end of the game, RJ didn't seem very deterred. So
Mhm.
I'm not too worried about his mentality, and it looks like he's going through the gauntlet with these dribbling drills. So let's see what he brings.
Nice, nice. Um, Mike, we lost you for a minute. Glad you came
Yeah,
back.
I don't know what happened. Just went to my home screen.
um, anything you want to interject with?
Uh, well, I have a comment for the. Well, you were talking about the five position, Noel and Mitch. Um, I'm not big on Noel at all. I recognize what he did for us last year. I think he stepped up. I think that's the best you're going to get out of Nerlens Noel, and I was happy to have it. I just think a lot of people look at the two blocks and one steal that you get from Noel, and I think that's great, especially the blocks. But I think he's a below average rebounder. I think if he's got to face a guy that's got an old school back to the basket game, he can't stop him. He's got a chance to block it, but he doesn't have the strength. Um, if he's got to go against even Dwight Howard even at this stage in the game, Dwight's going to eat him up if they give him the ball. Um, that being said, I don't hate that we brought him back because we know he's serviceable in that position. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Mitch isn't going to learn anything from him. Um,
Yeah, I agree. Last year I was screaming, we need girth at the center position.
yeah,
Like you said, Dwight was dominating. We needed a guy to go against Embiid down there. Um, I mean, rumor has it Mitch is up to 270, so
wow.
that should help. Um, yeah, that should definitely help. But yeah, we needed some girth, and I mean, I just want Mitch to show some type of offensive growth. I've never been down on Mitch, like a lot of guys have. I thought it would come in time. I still think it will come in time. And I was one of the few people that said early on that if he just does what he does at an elite level, which is run the floor and protect the rim, like he could still have a serviceable 10-year career. I still believe that, but I do want to see some type of, I mean, a baby hook, a hook shot, just one type of move in the paint. Um, and again, just to go back to my concern is I don't know where he's gonna learn that within the confines of the current roster. Um, I think we're gonna have to. I mean, I've been saying this for years too. Bring Patrick in real quick. You know what I mean? Bring Kareem in real quick. Um, both those guys, New York roots, New York. Um, been through the fire in New York, but have offensive games that we could really use from our center position. Bring him in for a week. Bring him in for 2 days, but just to have him teach him some things that he could work on for the rest of his career. Um,
Absolutely, man. Oh my God. Like the more I think about next season, the more I just can't wait for it to begin. I just wanted to start already. I need Mitch in the gym and drinking whatever he can drink to build his bone density up because I like if he gets hurt one more time, I might cry. I might just
Yeah.
cry, buddy, because I you see the potential, right? He seems like the boy is a natural, man. Like it seemed like the game just comes to him clearly. He has the vision and he has the know-how to play within his game. So just an expansion of that skill set, I feel like he would naturally develop his talents as he learns new things and new ways to apply it. You know what I mean? And oh boy, like someone for him to learn from. Like I'm wondering why we haven't been doing that already, and if we have, then why isn't it more publicized? Maybe I just any development we can get at that five, I feel like would go a long way for us. You know, one thing I do want to see next season is I want to see Thibodeau identify key opportunities to expand Obi Toppin's playing time. Right, I think he needs to pump the brakes with Randall a little bit in terms of that, and he needs to let this kid get some burn and maybe identify some matchups where he could do some more on learning on the court. You feel me? Because I feel like what we saw at the end of the last season and even in the summer league to a lesser extent, we saw a kid who might have been a late bloomer in our season in his rookie season and started to have things click, and maybe the playoff environment was the time for him to do that because we're facing the same team so many times in a row, so he's getting more opportunities to figure guys out, to figure teams out, and to figure out where he can come in and give us an injection of offense. If we can do that, I feel like that would help out a lot.
Hey, two things to play off of that. One, well, first let me say I think Obi, I think he got more than a fair opportunity last year because it was times I think he wasn't playing well, but he still got those minutes to
Right.
to give Randall a break. Um, but then there was also times where his his leash was very short, and it would be like, oh, one mistake, all right, Randall, we need you back out here. But moving forward with this with these two additions, I think that's gonna be a difference maker because now number one, we'll start with Kemba. Kemba on the floor with Obi. I forgot who said it, but somebody just said it in the chat. But that's gonna open his game. Same for Mitch. It's gonna open his game. We didn't have that. He didn't have that opportunity last year. Playing with the Elf Man. Um,
Do you
you
see a
know,
lot of time for him to be playing with Kemba?
why not? And even if it's not Kemba, we seen how he had chemistry, good chemistry with Rose. So I think either way,
That's true.
we got.
That's true.
But the addition of Kemba, the addition of Fournier, guys that could put the ball on the floor, that could create for themselves and others, I think that's going to give Obi more opportunity to stay on the floor and show more of his offensive game. Last year he was stuck in that corner three row position. You know what I mean? That was what we wanted from you. That's what we needed from you. He didn't have many opportunities to create for himself,
Mhm.
or create for others, and he is a good passer.
Yes,
Um,
underrated passer. Absolutely.
so I think like what we're seeing in summer league now, I think that's what we're gonna see from him in his minutes. Aggression, not not really just put in a role and have to stick with the role. I think now it's gonna open up for him a little bit more. And I think playing with guys that could get him the ball, get him in position. I think that's going to help him a lot more. Um, I've been saying that since last year. I think, he was having a bad year all year, but I was very clear in thinking that next year is going to be a breakout season, and I still stand by that.
Yo, so I have a question for your guest, real quick. Can I get your name, buddy?
Mike,
Mike. Mike. Okay, so I have two central themes that of like what I want to see in our basketball culture coming into the season, and I've been thinking about this for a while. Number one, speed. Okay, I want to see more speed and athletic exploitation of the other team's defense, right? I want to see a lot more transition work ending up in points on the board for us. Number two is finesse. I want to see speed and finesse all season this season. I want to see good rim finishes. I want to see a versatility of driving ability. I want to see a lot of a lot of slick passing with purpose, right? I don't want to see guys holding the ball too long, right? And I would like your thoughts on those two themes, and do you have any idea how we could go about bringing those traits out?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I think that is something the offense lacked last year, without question. I think maybe like a younger lineup, like if you got IQ, Toppin, Mitch um, on the floor, and you got a guy like Kemba running the point, I think you can see some of that speed develop. So I'd like to see a lineup with those guys in it, even if it's
Yeah,
a second unit or whatever unit it is. Getting out there running because we know Toppin can finish, we know Mitch can finish at the rim. So that would be my opinion on it. Seeing those guys orchestrate something like that.
yeah, man, that would be awesome. Watching these young guys play is awesome, just because I feel like there's no fear in these guys. It seems like they each have their own natural attunement to what their purpose is on the floor, and they don't shy away from feeding more into that themselves. I would be curious to see how they show up in the lineup given the depth at certain positions, right? But now I'm thinking about how Jericho could fit into this whole picture, right? Do you guys have any vision for how Jericho Sims could fit into our lineup going forward?
Um, First, let me say, the first comment you made, I think Kimber's gonna be the spark plug to all that. Speed, um, lead passes. I hope him and Obi do get significant time together. The way Obi runs the floor, and Kimber lead pass and throwing oops, I think that's gonna be a great fit. But we'll also see that with Mitch as well. But what was oh, Jericho Sims. Well, Mike hasn't got to see any summer league yet, so I don't know how familiar he is with Jericho.
Not
And
really.
again, I got a shout out to Uncle Fulio, because he was the guy that was saying Jericho Sims, and a lot of us had weren't aware of him. Um, I think ultimately, like I said earlier, I think prime position to just let this guy come in and grow organically. Um, I don't think he's gonna be rushed into minutes or maybe even time with the big club originally. Um, but good insurance policy if we move forward from it. If we don't re-sign him coming forward after the season. Um, Super athletic.
Yes.
Already. I believe he's already 270 or 260 in that range. So solid size. Great wingspan. He's only 6'10", but good wingspan. I think he's a good piece for the future. Like I said, insurance policy. If somebody goes down, good piece player to bring right in. Um, because he's on a two-way, so that's what 45, 40 games or so that he could play with us. Um, I think it's a win-win and somewhat of a steal. But I'm
Yeah.
big on the fact that we don't have to rely on any of our rookies, and they don't have to be put in position where they got to succeed now.
Right.
They can slowly grind and learn and pick up things along the way, and then maybe shock us halfway through the season when they get an opportunity, or whether they when they get an opportunity next year. Or so I love that, man. I think that is such a priceless aspect of where we are as a team, that we were able to move down in the draft, um, take risk, or just go after the guy we want, and not have to go after the so-called best player available,
Yeah,
but get guys that fit in our system and fit what we want to do long term.
I agree. I agree completely. Man, I'm just thrilled to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait for the season to start. I'm getting antsy.
I just want I just want to I want to hold our position in the East. I don't want to get passed up by a bunch of teams that did certain things in the off season. I want to beat Philadelphia.
Mm.
Yeah,
I'm sick of losing to Philly, man.
yeah, I agree
Like
with you.
it's been a long time that we have not beat that team. You know,
Savvy, let me ask you this, because you missed the beginning of the show. So, what are your expectations for our team this season?
hmm,
Because you say you don't want a bunch of teams to pass us. Um, so are you expecting fourth seed again, or
nah, nah, man, nah. I think we outdid ourselves last year. I think we caught a bunch of teams by surprise, especially during some of the West Coast trips. They might have took us for granted, and wise. We're on the same page, man. But we lost a lot of games to them. But I think if we wind up no lower than 6, that wouldn't be so bad, right? Um, once we got D Rose in the fold, we kind of flipped a switch for a second there. Even though some losing streaks came after that, we definitely got a much needed injection, and we beat some teams that probably we just caught off guard because they didn't think we would be as tough to play, right? And certainly IQ going off on certain nights helped with that, right? And I think if we could stave off falling below 6, I wouldn't be mad at that. And then we could see how we match up in the playoffs, right? And I think we will have a better time in the playoffs with the squad that we have going into this season than with the squad that we had going into last season. However, going through the regular season might be a bit tougher. That's the way I see things unfolding. I think the variation in the scouting reports and what we have to do against certain teams and the traveling is going to come into effect. But if we just maintain development, which I think we can, because our team's leader Julius Randle is like a work first guy. He's gonna try to outwork people. I think if people could follow that leadership, then we could do a lot of good things. And I'm pretty sure we have Taj coming back too, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All right, good man. Hey, listen, we got veteran savvy. We got hard work ethics. We have young, youthful energy and talent, and so I'm hyped to see it. I think Chicago could be some trouble. I think Atlanta is gonna be Atlanta, and I just want to see us go out there and battle and show people that we're not a fluke.
I agree, man. And I want to beat Philly too, man. I definitely do. And not only that, man, I'm looking forward to trying to get to a Philly Knicks game, since they're not, one of them teams they're one of those teams I could just drive to on a humble. So, um, my other question for you was matchups you're looking forward to this coming season, whether it's player to player or team. I mean, I know you say you wanted Philly, but because my matchup off the jump was Kyrie and Kemba. I want to see them put on a show
Mm,
against each other. I think top three handles in the league between those two guys. Maybe throw
man,
Steph in the mix in the middle of there, but
I'd like to see. I'd like to see Obi dunk on Kristaps.
Hell yeah, I'd like to see that too.
I would love to see that, man. I would love to see that. Didn't he? Didn't he almost crank one back on that boy last season?
I think he
Didn't that
tried. I
almost
know.
happen?
I know
Somebody
Frank.
did.
I know Frank tried.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. I remember that. Oh,
I know Frank tried.
I
You,
I wish that man the best.
you know, it's funny you say that about Obi because I was just thinking. I don't see him. I don't see him trying to take off and dunk on too many people. Like I expected that coming into last year, and it seems like the majority of his dunks are like lobs and somewhat uncontested
Right.
dunks. I'm
Yeah.
wait, so I'll take it from anybody. I don't care if it's Chris Stapps, it could be Bobo, it could like I don't care if
Yeah.
it's a guard. I want to see Obi start to try to take flight
Yam it on
and
Yeah.
someone.
bang on somebody, man.
Yeah.
Um, I want to see 10 posters this year from Obi at least.
Yeah. That would be a beautiful benchmark to hit. If we could just point to like 8 to 10 moments in the season, looking back on next season, and just be like, man, these photographic moments with him just jamming it on Buddy's head would be beautiful, Buddy. Because I feel like that's the kind of guy he is. You know, that's the kind of player attribute that he could feed on. It's just like jamming it on someone and using that energy to push himself forward and have some momentum in the game. You feel
Give
me?
the whole team momentum, like for
You
Yeah.
sure,
know, I
for
want to
sure.
see. I, I want to see a lot of things come to bear. I want to see some things against Sacramento. Okay, you know what I mean. Got that young man Tyrese over there. Okay, I wanna see him get outshot by somebody during the game.
Nah, I
Okay,
hear you. I
all
hear
right.
you.
I want to just silence a bunch of people that's like in the league out there that people saying, "Oh, well, you should have did this. You should like, nah, we straight. We're good. All right, we did the right things. That's what I feel like, and just more solidification of that would do wonders for me in my social life talking about basketball to people.
Salute to 19 comment NYC 84. He says Obi slimmed down so he could play the three and get more minutes. Um,
Hmm.
I I think he's going to have to become somewhat of a better defender to get minutes at the three. Um, I think offensively, the way his game is rounding about, I think he maybe could play some minutes at the three. Um, but defensively, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Man, hmm. That would be interesting. See it's getting kind of weird for me to envision how these minutes are gonna get distributed this season. Can you give me your off rip starting five, Tone?
Kemba,
Mm-hmm.
Fournier, RJ, Randall, Mitch,
Kemba, Fournier, RJ, Randall, and Mitch. Right.
and give me real quick. Let me just think about something real quick. Yeah, that's where I'm
Yeah.
going.
And then the second unit, you would have D Rose, I
Quickly,
IQ,
Burks,
Burks at the
Ob,
three. Toppin.
and Noel.
I'm
And
glad we got Girth
I
back.
wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad switching Noel and switching Noel into the starting lineup.
And then bringing Mitch off the bench, right?
And I only say that because that that second unit you talked about, you want to see speed.
Yeah.
That second unit is gonna be all speed, like running up and down the court. You got three guys in Burks, quickly, and D Rose, if he continues to shoot like he did last year, that could pull up, but that could all create for Mitch and Obi. So you see a lot of lobs down there. You see, you know what I mean? You see a lot of running the floor. Um,
Yeah.
I love the fact that quickly has been. I mean, Obi's been showing that trailer 3-pointer. You know,
Yes.
off the break, the last guy down. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Mitch in the second unit, just running with that speed unit, and we seen the chemistry that Noel produced in that starting lineup
That's true.
down the stretch.
That's true.
And granted, he didn't take the role, he didn't take the position from um Mitch,
Yeah, he
but
inherited
he
it.
but he excelled at it as well. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It wasn't a drop off. You know, that was a very high concern when Mitch went down. I thought the season
Yeah.
was lost. And
Me
and,
too.
and you got to give Noel his credit, man. And that's why I said he earned his raise.
Exactly. It was
He-
damn near a seamless transition.
100%.
You know, it's like you wouldn't know that we had lost a player that way, and really the only difference is his ability to complete these lobs, right? I feel like his offensive rating would have been much better if not for certain drops, and if he could create for himself, that'd be cool. And I also like Nerlens because of his journey through the league, and it seems like he's like, has he had a better season than he had last season in his career?
Probably not.
I don't think so. So it seemed like even at this stage in his career, he could still improve at things, right? And solidify his position. And the best problem to have is to have a guy who was a starter who might be too good to coming off the bench as he ramps back up into starting minutes and being able to get that much burn on his body, because I do want us to take it slow and give him a nice long on ramp before Mitch is asked to do anything too major on the floor, just because of the history, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, yeah, I hope he can stay healthy.
Me too,
Excuse
man.
me. I hope he can stay healthy. I think honestly, it seems like the five is probably our weakest position right now. Um, at least offensively, it's our weakest position. But you know, we could create and we can score from everywhere else on the court. And
That's true.
I think we're pretty deep right now. We're a pretty deep team.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree. Tell me
strong at
something.
what's that?
Do you think do you think RJ will be one of the leading minutes players in the league this season?
I think so because I mean that's we actually, you could argue that that's our weakest position because he's really only the true small forward on the roster. I mean, I think Knox is ultimately a four, but I don't even know if Knox is gonna get a fair opportunity this year.
Right,
And I don't mean that as in fair and unfair, but I don't know how much time he's actually gonna get.
right.
Um, So I think he's going to get the most. He might be our leading score, our leading minutes player this year. I think
Mhm.
Obi's gonna step up. He's gonna give Julius an opportunity to get rest. I think we have a bunch of point guards or a bunch of guys that could spell rest at the point guard if need be. Um, two guard the same.
Yeah.
Um, but how many guys are true threes on our roster, and how many guys can play that three position? 30 minutes a game. But besides RJ, maybe Fournier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
yeah,
see what you're saying.
I think RJ ends up leading us in minutes this year. I think everybody else is gonna have an opportunity to get rest because of the depth we have everywhere else.
Would you still be given the current construction of our roster? Would you be apprehensive to him taking the final shot in certain situations, like he was last year?
RJ.
Yeah, because I kind of like that role for him. You feel me? Even though we're doing all of these moves and we have so much depth, my feeling is that this is still his team and he lies at the nucleus of this team. I feel like this team can go as far as RJ can go.
So it's kind of like a catch 22 to me because I think the best role for RJ right now would because of the additions to the roster and because I feel like he's going to guard the best perimeter player on the other team is them going to RJ and saying, "Listen, we know who you are. We know what you're capable of doing. Um, we don't want you to hold back or take a step back, but we want you to hang your hat on defense this year.
Right.
We want all energy exerted to the defensive end. The offense is going to come for him.
That's
He
true.
don't need the ball in his hand. He doesn't need to be the focal point of any necessary possession. You know what I mean? Like he's shown that he could get you double digit buckets without being the go to guy. Salute Andy, how you doing?
Salute.
My man.
So I think me personally, I would put him in that role of saying I would tell him, hey, hang your hat on defense this year. That's where we need you the most.
Right.
We know what you're gonna give us offensively, even if we're not running plays for you per se or running the offense through you per se. Um, we have enough guys on the team that actually are gonna find you when you're open, find you for those um right reads. I
Yeah.
don't think they have to run a play for RJ. That's basically what I'm saying. I'm not
Right.
saying they don't like not to, but I
Right.
think if they let him just find his within the flow of the offense and tell him, hey, we need you to be a lockdown defender, I,
Yeah.
I think that'll take us the furthest.
That's a beautiful vision, man, because last season we were so dependent on him and Randall to both show up and be able to give us everything that they had to offer, right? Whereas now it seems like we can do more delegating specialties, like you say, and like the more I think about it, the more beautiful that vision seems to me uh, for RJ's personality and just what he does. Because, like you said, like for him to do that, it's not like he's gonna sacrifice much of his offensive production. So, man, mm, I like it.
Yeah. Andy, what's going on?
What up, guys? What up? Happy to be on. Finally made it. You know how if you have two kids, you can be an hour late.
It's that's the kids come first, man. That's why I get
Yeah,
my episodes in when I can, because I got to spend. most of my time with my daughter when I have that
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, so going back to the topic that guys were talking about, RJ not getting the plays ran through him. I think he's gonna excel in that position. Listen, he has a shooter in Fournier beside him. He has Randall in the same position that he was basically last season, but with his two-man game with Fournier, it's gonna open up the other side of the court, in which is he going to be basically standing and just waiting for the play to develop. So I'm guessing that we're gonna see more buckets of RJ cutting through the defense and getting that crazy pass for Fournier on for that from basically that two-man game, because that also is going to create more possibilities. Listen, Fournier is not only a shooter; he can drive. He can take a couple of dribbles and pass it up, couple of dribbles and make that shot. So he's a totally different player than Reggie Bullock, and not to mention Kemba. Kemba's a threat on the offensive end when he's going to be healthy. He can get past you, pull up from mid range, and he can get past you and pull up, and pass the ball. So that's going to be way more chances for guys like RJ and guys like Mitch and even Nerlens to just cut to the hoop and get that easy bucket. So
Oh,
Mm.
great. Earlier I was discussing some matchups you're looking forward to, and some personal matchups like player to player and team matchups. So any matchups you're looking forward to coming into this next season?
well, I'm betting that the new guys are gonna create those team versus team rivalries. I'm betting that Fournier will be playing huge versus Boston versus the Magic. Kemba probably versus Boston, because I think that stint for him didn't pan out. So I'm guessing those games versus Boston are going to be heated. From the rest of the guys, I don't think it's going to be something else. Thibs has them in that mentality that every next game is really important, and it doesn't matter who we play. And that's the most important thing for me too. Listen, I'm not looking, games ahead. I'm just looking for the next one up. Get that marked on your calendar, get passed through it, and then try to go to the next one. And for me, the start of the season is really important. And I know that it's going to be probably some chemistry problems and stuff like that, but still, you know, the game, like game one, two, game three, the Knicks taking an L there is exactly the same L they're gonna get, late in the season. So it's not like, listen, it's only game 10 and we're like 3-6 or 3 or 7 or whatever, right? Nah, those games in the beginning count as much as those late games in the season. So, and I rather be sitting, high through the whole season and then having that comfortable seed that I could drop a seed and still be, not in the plains, just straight up in the playoffs,
Hmm.
then, playing the
Fighting.
whole season, catching up and catching up and catching up, because that's gonna mentally drill you as a player in the NBA. So
I mean, you could argue both sides though, because if you're fighting your way in, now granted, I'm not saying fighting your way into the play in, but fighting your way into six or better, then most likely you're playing your best basketball down the stretch, and that's always a good thing in my opinion, going into the playoffs
yeah,
on your
listen,
best
Tone,
stretch.
it's for the coach. Either way, it's easy to sell. Listen, we were so good through the whole season. Now we're not gonna let it down. We were catching up the whole season. Now we got him. So
Yeah,
there's always an easy way to pep talk out of the way.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're gonna be in, the worst thing is if you're gonna be out. So that's gonna be
yeah,
a worse thing to turn it around in a good spot. So
100%. Um, expectations. Where do you think we end up?
listen, I think the goal for the Knicks, and that should be said from day one, I don't think they should aim that high. Like, listen, we got to be top 3 or top 4. I understand that we were the 4th seed last season. I think that we really, really overachieved. I'm not gonna lie that if we are top six, I'm gonna be comfortable. And listen, sometimes setting too high goals might get put you in the wrong mental position, because if you're going to be like 20 games, maybe not 20 games, like, but at least like 7, 10 games out of the first position let's say at Christmas, because that's a possibility. If a team is going to go like, I don't know, 24-2 or 3, and you're going to be like having like 10 losses, so you're going to be already like 8, 10 games almost out of the first seed, right? So I don't think that's good for the team just to put the standards so high. But if they tell them, listen, if we are between fourth and sixth seed, we are going to be really happy, and that's the goal for this season. Because listen, this roster compared to the last year's roster for the playoffs is a totally different game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing we can be one of those sneaky teams like those Miami teams from the bubble that went to the finals. So I'm rather, expecting a season just, making the playoffs the top six seed, and then, putting some damage on the playoff bracket for guys that fill it out.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. Shout out to the chat again, man. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like button for me. Share it. Subscribe. All that stuff everybody says. Savvy, what's good, man? Anything else you want to touch on before we head out of here? Oh, I can't hear you, bro. Hold up. Did I do that?
Me. My bad, my bad.
There we go.
Um, what do you guys project our point average to be next season?
Mm.
What was
What
the
did we
number
average?
last season we had?
That's what I was gonna say. Um, I think we're gonna shoot up at least.
I think we're going to be mid pack of the league. I don't think we're going to be top 10. That would be a reach. But I think, like 10 till 18, 16, something like that range. I think that will be fine for the Knicks. Listen, it always depends on the pace for me, because, nobody mentions that, some teams score like 112 points, but they just
Right.
run. So if they have like 20 opportunities more a game, that's not not that they can do. But listen, field goal percentage wise, I think we're going to be, around the 15th spot, and that's majorly caused by lack of chemistry at the beginning. And Fournier is also a really streaky shooter. So if he's
Mhm.
going to make those hot stretches longer, then that one game that he needs to refocus and reinstall his shooting, I think that's going to be way, way easier, offensive game for the rest of the team. I just, hope that Thibs is going to try to use some other, offensive strategies than we had last season, with Randall
Right.
being the main playmaker, and basically every play that he was on the court was ran through him. We
Yeah.
have options this year, so we gotta use it to our advantage, not just to make those players the players that we had last year. So
Well,
Hmm.
I think we're gonna have the best increase offensively, um, like out of anybody in the league. So I think I, I think chemistry wise, I think we actually get off to a good start. And I say that I think Kemba and Fournier playing together, as brief as they did, but they still had good chemistry when they played together. I think that's going to help automatically. I think Kemba's going to open up the floor again for whom excuse me, whomever is starting at the center position. Um, so whether it's Mitch, I think that lob opens up even more. Whether it's Noel, granted he got to catch the ball, but I think that lob is going to be there for him as well. RJ, like you said, cutting to the basket. I think that's going to be a prime role for him. Um, so I think our offense is going to increase probably the best of any team in the league moving forward. The
Mm.
question is, how much does our defense regress? So if we could maybe only drop 4 spots defensively and move up 10 spots offensively, 8 spots offensively, I think that balance will balance itself out in our favor.
How would you compare what you know about Kemba's defensive performance to Alfred Payton's? Do you think we're really going to suffer that much on defense?
I mean, I don't because defense for the most part is about effort,
Right.
and Kimber has the effort.
Right.
If he's gonna get killed,
It would be a
it's
size
gonna
matchup, huh?
it, yeah. But how many guards? How many guards actually use their size to their advantage,
True.
and then make that a mismatch?
I
Maybe
get you.
on a switch, maybe. But you think they're gonna target Kemba? Has that been his MO throughout his career? Like, oh, we're gonna target Kemba and make him the the weak link defensively.
That's a good weak link to
A,
have.
a possession maybe here and there, but I don't remember him being the target
Right.
offensively from the other team. So I don't see that being what they do. Moving forward. Um, Fournier, same type thing. Is he going to be the target on the offensive end from the other team? I don't think so. He's a gritty defender. He puts in effort. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like when effort is what you're worried about, I think that's concerning.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're questioning, it's not a question of their ability. You know what I mean? They have the ability to defend. They have the size. Well, Fournier does. Has the size to defend, even if it is at the 3 position. So I don't think we take that much of a step back defensively.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, for me, I think Kemba's gonna be, definitely. I think it's gonna be we're gonna feel the difference between Alfred and Kemba. It's going to
Defensively,
be, yeah, defensively, and it's too much, even to explain. But I just hope it's not. But I think plenty of fans aren't gonna see it because Kemba's gonna score more points than Alfred, right? So he's gonna be more of an offensive threat that's gonna kind of balance out because it's not going to be all Westbrook went for 35 and but Kemba had 25. Meanwhile, Westbrook would go for 22, but Alfred would have 8, right? So
Right.
the difference basically it's going to hash out. But I think the because of Thibs' defensive schemes, I think Kemba fighting through those picks is going to be way harder for him, looking and thinking about those injuries that he has. I think that might hurt him. That like he's not going to try to go with that kind of the same kind of effort that Alfred, put out. I know that, most Knicks fans weren't fans of Alfred. Listen, I didn't expect much from a guy that has basically minimum wages from on a team that was a starter, probably least paid starter point guard
Yeah.
in the league. So I don't think you can expect the same gameplay from a guy like Peyton compared to the rest of the league.
Hmm.
Then again, he was basically the weakest link, right? So no, someone had to be the fall guy. So,
Right.
and listen, and Fournier, I think Fournier is a good defender when he realizes the defensive schemes. He was playing in different systems. He was playing in with Steve Clifford, which is a great friend of Thibs. So
Mhm.
I'm guessing they might have been even running the same defensive schemes, or at least basic principles from that. So I'm kind of not expecting. Listen, Reggie was a great defender. I'm not gonna say on ball defense from Reggie Bullock was awesome. He moved his feet, but he also got beat sometimes. So it's really hard, also to compare those guys on only one front, because Fournier has a way better offensive game than Reggie had. Reggie could only make that shot when he had the space created by Julius. Meanwhile, Fournier can go, create for himself, create off screens for teammates, for the whole offense. So I'm kind of put in a position that I think it's going to be way fans are going to see it way better for the guards positions compared to last year's. So like
Yeah, I mean, one one of the, one of the things I just slightly disagree with. Um, I don't think there's going to be that much of a drop off. Um, at both of those positions, to be honest. Now, you made a great point about Kemba fighting over those screens, and I think you're definitely right about that. I think bumping knees and things of that nature is going to be a concern for him. So you may see him cheating and going under more than we would like. Um, and depending on the matchup and who he's going under against, um, that could hurt us. But team defensive schemes is one of the things that could help him. I noticed even when we weren't switching, 100% of the time, our bigs were doing a great job of when you go under covering up and then making sure they get right back to their man. So it's not it's like a temporary switch, just so the guard could get to where they
yeah,
needed to
like a
get.
flash, right? So he just flashes out. Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of defensive schemes that we could look from Tibbs that could.
And listen, he can always tweak that defense. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing each season. He can see, listen, okay, Kemba's not gonna, do it for us. So let's, ice that pick or whatever. So they could not change it definitely, but at least, a little bit longer switches or something like that. They can work it out. And listen, he has to adjust. He has other personnel this season, so I think he really needs to adjust. Then again, if you look at the roster, listen, the rotation of 10 guys, only 2 guys are new basically. So the chemistry is going to be there.
Yes.
And Tibbs might be, listen, these 2 guys got to adjust. I'm not going to make
Hmm.
all 8 old guys adjust because we have 2 new guys. So he might be thinking, let's roll it back like we did last season, and let's see if these guys can adjust. But going back to the Kemba defense problem, listen, I think if there's by any chance going to be some kind of minutes maintenance thing, that he's gonna not gonna be playing back to backs, or limited minutes like to
Hmm.
30 or 25 or whatever on the back to back games. I'm thinking, Miles McBride, he can fit in the Tibbs system and the offense so perfectly that I didn't see a rookie that could fill that spot really better. He can create for himself, and I'm not saying like for 20 points. No, but
Hmm.
he can if we need a bucket and there's like nobody's hot or something like that, he can just rip through the whole offense, and break the play like quickly the last season. Listen, you think those all those quickly shots were drawn up? Nah, he was taking those floaters like Tibbs was probably, if he ain't gonna make it, I'm gonna bench him. But I think McBride has a little bit more steady game to him than that wildness that quickly brought last season. But I also think if if McBride can see it, and I think he saw it and noticed it in summer league games, that if the team didn't work one, two, three times in a row like the play, he took it upon himself to get that bucket, to see that for the players to see that ball go through the hoop, and stuff like that, break that run. And I think that's really important if there's going to be a situation that we're going to need to see him on the floor.
Yeah. I don't know how much of the earlier episode you see, earlier of this episode you've seen, but one of the things that I love about this current roster is, this is the first time in years where we have rookies, we have these draft picks that are coming in, and they don't have to be they don't have to be focal points of the
Yeah.
team per se.
This.
You know what I mean? They can naturally grow into the guys that they're gonna become. Um, we're deep enough that we could just let these guys. I mean, if we have to, they could just shine in the G League all year. I'm not saying that's what I want. You know what I mean? But we don't need to rely on them. Anything they give us is a bonus. The pressure is not on them to produce from day one, and that's a beautiful thing that I can't even think of the last time we've been in that position. But I say all that to say I really do love this kid, McBride, as well. I think if need be, he's available and can play a definitive role if need be. So I agree with you 100%.
Yo,
Um,
I'm gonna sneak here in, Tony, and I'm gonna say if it was up to me, I think
you
I would
start him.
give Quickly's minutes to no Quickly's minutes,
Mm,
at least Quickly's minutes to McBride.
mm.
And I think that might be a possibility if we are gonna be a team that majorly drops off on defense. I don't think Tibbs has a chance to move around pieces on this with the starters. I think those are basically settled except the center position. But I don't think that those guys, Mitch and Nerlens, are basically interchangeable. So they have exactly same game. So I think those guys are really interchangeable, and it doesn't matter who starts, who comes off the bench. But the second unit, you have D Rose, and we saw that he's a willing defender, but father time is unbeatable, and I don't think he can be that guy next 2-3 seasons that he has the contract.
Do you think he's less of a liability than Kimba? You think Kimba's more of a liability defensively than Derrick Rose?
I might be thinking so. I'm not gonna lie, the most thing I was impressed about D Rose was his defense. I know he can score in major fashion and ways, and I know that he majorly holds out those drives and finishes around the rim. But if he has to, he can still do that. And I know that he's holding back because he fears some maybe injuries and stuff. But on defense, he was a dog. And I'm not saying like that best defender in the league, right? But I was thinking that he's basically a fly-by guy. That's okay. I'm gonna just score on the next end, possession. And I was surprised on his defense. I'm also happy that what we've seen from the on the defensive end from Obi. I was and now I'm not saying the rebounding or the blocks. I'm talking only about the defensive awareness.
Mm-hmm.
That that's a
Yeah.
huge jump for, and I understand that this is summer league. Those guys are basically not all NBA players, but you saw in him and in his play and his body language that he knows what's happening on the court. Meanwhile, last season he was like, "Oh, damn, where's my guy now? I
I
lost
mean,
him." So
even by the end of last season,
yeah,
you seen
you
how
saw
much better
progress. Yeah, but
Yes.
this,
he
I
got.
think he take a huge step, and I hope he can, prove us that I'm not asking him to be defensive player of the year, but at least that he has that awareness, and nobody's gonna, make a fool out of him on defense.
So I was thinking, and you guys tell me what you think. I was thinking of the possibility of even starting Rose um for chemistry reasons, and letting Kemba play with that second unit. Um, one, he's had the most reps. You know what I mean, with the rest of the team. Um, some of the things that we were concerned with him starting, I don't think would be a concern with Kemba. You know, in that second unit, like he can obviously, you know, run the point guard position in that second unit, so we don't have to worry about that. And then I think Kemba might be a better fit with Obi. Um, I would say Mitch in this aspect because I when I say chemistry, I would put Noel in the starting lineup for that same reason. He was in that role down the stretch
Yep.
last year. Um, so chemistry wise, I could see Kemba playing great with Mitch, Obi, even quickly, and Burks. Even though we haven't seen it, and but we've seen roles in the starting unit. So what do you guys think of starting roles and pretty much saying Rose, Fournier, RJ, um, Julius, and Noel, and then having a straight speed unit um in the second unit?
I would not be mad at that. I would it would be it would be odd for me to 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 see how the minutes unfold next season because like Andy's just said, he would give Deuce uh Quickly's minutes, right? But I see Quickly staying more at the two and Deuce being more at the one. You know, would you in any scenario put Deuce at the two?
No. He would be at the one in my
At the
book.
one.
I would put D Rose on the off guard, and we know that he can create. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that he's going to shoot a lot of threes, but he can create. And we saw last season, when he was at the second unit, he wasn't always the ball handler and stuff. He was the guy. I think he's more and why I would keep him in the second. Why I would keep him in the second unit. I think he's more of a leader than Kemba. And I know that Kemba was basically the franchise player, right? But I think
Yeah.
Kemba, and I think this is Tibbs' biggest decision for the season. I think he has to sit both guys down, talk to him, look at the coaching staff, get them in the room with that in that situation, the doctors, because I think he has to decide before the season happens, what are going to be the rotations on the point guard position.
Right.
Because those minutes, if he's going to, those if they're not going to be playing back to backs, that's really important because if they're going to have the schedule out, they got to map out those things out, up front before anything happens. But because if Tibbs is going to be like, listen, I'm going to put, Kemba 35 minutes game till he breaks down, and then I'm going to put D Rose in for 35 because we're going to have a rookie, backing up. Listen,
Yeah,
that
that's
might be
not what I
thing.
want to see either.
Yeah.
That is not what I want to see. I hope that he doesn't go about it that way. I think you're right. He needs to have that hashed out from
Yeah.
the
Before.
rip.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something. Who do you want closing the game for us
It's tough, right?
between Kemba and Rose?
Listen, I think it might be all of them. I think that for the offensive position, I think if it's like last shot position, I basically think that both Mitch and Nerlens are out, and we
Mm.
got the starting lineup plus Rose. There's gonna be so many late game shot takers on that roster, on that 5-man court for us on the offense, that any play, even broken play, all of those guys can create for themselves. So that's going to be a beauty compared to what we had last season. So
Andy, give me your starting five on your second unit.
No, I would go the same as Tony said, and I think I'm gonna put Netherlands in at the first unit from day one.
first unit day
And
one.
the second unit, I'm not gonna lie. If there's a huge defensive drop off, I'm giving Quickly's minutes to McBride and playing D Rose off the ball. And even if the situation occurs that we are up by, let's say, 15, 20 points, I'm gonna play Quickly then instead of a Rose or instead of a Kemba, and let
Yeah,
those guys rest. I would love them. I would love to be in a position that we're so big up in the games that Tibbs is going to be like, listen, Kemba played 28 minutes, D Rose played 12. They can just ride out on the bench. And that has to be mentioned before the season starts. Tibbs has to say to them, listen, guys, I hope you're not going to be mad. If we're going to be up, you're going to be sitting on the bench because I don't want you guys to get, injured or whatever. I gotta, blow on the cold ice or whatever the saying is, that nothing happens and I'm not gonna be. But then again, this is Tibbs, guys. This is Tibbs. I don't
yeah.
think he understands that. So
I
Is there
definitely.
is there any chance? Is there any chance RJ is not on the floor and on the closing
oh
possession,
yeah, of
and
course.
and
I think
and
Burks
and
might be in
Burks?
the
Yeah,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
was gonna say
that's true.
there was a small window last year where Burks became our closer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
It,
the
it was like
Tony,
we need
we
a closer,
I
we need a
think
closer, and then Burks came out of nowhere like, oh, you got a closer.
yeah,
and I
So
don't
Tony,
know if
there
you
were
remember, but I wasn't happy with it. I didn't like it.
yeah, me
I felt
too.
like RJ should be on the floor at the end of every game, regardless of what the situation is. I feel like
Yeah,
he's
but
that kind of guy. But
yeah, and I was gonna say, Savvy, there were games, and I think it was like 3 or 4 games that RJ didn't sniff the court in the fourth quarter. And I'm not saying like last 2 minutes, none
and it
minutes in the
hurt me.
fourth quarter. And I was like, listen, and I was upset with that because in the states there's that shooters gotta break out of the slump by shooting.
Right.
Listen, if that's the situation and RJ couldn't score a bucket, why not? Why isn't he in the game? You're gonna give other guys like Reggie Bullock, the situations to break out of a slump. Meanwhile, RJ, and I understand that he's not a shooter, he's more of a scorer, right?
Mhm.
Still, let
That's
him see the ball go through the hoop, and then have that a little bit confidence, higher for
because I've
him.
seen him
So
get angry and decide, you know what? No, I'm taking over, and we're gonna win this game. Albeit I've seen him whiff that last shot a couple times, right? Probably more times than he succeeded at closing, but I feel like a guy like that you gotta have at the end of the game. I would
Hey,
be less angry with it this time than last season though, because I feel like
one of
we're deeper than
one of my favorite things to see last year was with the possessions going down. It's like 14 seconds on the shot clock or whatever. RJ gets the ball, right. He passes it to like maybe Randall or Burks or whomever, and he goes up to the middle of the key and gets the ball right back.
yes.
Anytime you see that, right, he passes the ball, he goes right up to the middle of the key, gets the ball right back. And RJ's about to make his move. Oh, and he just needed that space real quick, and he's setting
Mhm.
up to go downhill. Um, that was one of my favorite things. Like I didn't know what was gonna happen, but
Yeah,
I knew RJ was about to. He's like, "Yo, I'm in my bag right now.
you got
My
something
turn."
up his sleeve for sure, for
Oh
sure.
man, that was one
I,
of my favorite things. Look,
I definitely am optimistic about how Tibbs will handle the rotation. I think when you have a glut of players and talents the way that we do, it's like how set in their ways could someone be at this point? I want to see Deuce crack the rotation and get his shot and have some real minutes out there when it matters, so that we can get a real assessment about how he's going to handle things, because I love what I've seen so far. He's a willing defender, and I think he could provide a lot of relief to those guys. But I don't want to jump the gun.
I personally, I feel like I feel like if we see our rookies, that means something went wrong.
Yeah,
You think
I
so?
think so. For Tibbs, I think for Tibbs, it's going to be a situation like that. Listen, you're going to get minutes, but somebody's got to basically get themselves out of the rotation by injury or by really bad play. So,
Hmm. Hmm. I see what you're saying. I
but
see what you're
listen, I
saying.
think I think like I said, only if we are really bad on defense, I think he might slide in McBride over quickly. No, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that. I think we're going to have that offensive power covered, by swapping those guys. Meanwhile, the defense is going to be totally different with McBride on coming from the bench then quickly.
I mean, the scary thing is, if there's one thing that I've seen consistently in summer league from Grimes, it was his defense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Active.
You know what I mean? So I mean, someone can make the same argument about Grimes.
But Tony, just go, back on Grimes because listen, I think his problem is, and I realize that like me and Sim did the coach's corner on him that he doesn't have that first step just to get passed through. So basically, he's just a 3-and-D guy now. But listen, I think for him, just imagine this situation. If he played exactly same defense, but he made like 4 out of 6, 5 out of 7 of those 3 pointers, bro, we would be raving him and putting him above Obi in the rotation. He just
Yeah,
didn't have the luck, and it like looks, the form is there, the position. He doesn't take wild shots. He takes only good shots. His game looks really good. It's just the ball going through the hoop. If we fans saw that, I believe that we would be, putting him over Burks, like trade Burks, man. Just whatever's the 15 December that we can trade him, just trade him. But I think that's the maybe not the problem, but I'm hoping that in preseason games, if he shoots like over 60% from three, he might be also getting those couple of minutes. I'm not saying, major, but let's imagine maybe 2 3 minutes at the end of the games, and he makes two out of two out of three pointers, right? That's going to
Yeah.
be huge.
and
So
how tall? He's 6'4".
I think he's 6'6", something like that.
I don't think he's 6'6".
You think he's
Maybe
smaller?
six,
I'm
maybe
going to
six
peep it
five.
out.
But it's times that I've been watching and I look at him and I'm like, man, he looks so tiny. But defensively, he's there. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look like he's small on the defensive end, but there's times offensively he looks small, and I
Yeah,
think
he's 6'5". Six
six
five.
five.
Yeah.
So I mean, kudos to him, man. I think I love the fact that we got these guys and we don't have to depend on them, but they could still be vital parts if need be and going forward. Um, I think I'm gonna wrap this one up. I gotta eat some food before I get ready for the Queen show.
For sure. For sure.
I appreciate you guys joining in as always, man.
It's
Shout
always
out
a
to the
pleasure.
chat. Yo, Black is time. Any last word, fellas?
Go on,
Let's
Andy.
go. Let's go. I hope the season starts like, early a month this year.
Oh
Yo,
man,
me too, man. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
these summer league games are cool and stuff, but you can see it's summer league. You can definitely see it's summer league, and I know that we had like 2 or 3 guys on these teams that were last season in the NBA. But when the big dogs come to play, it's going to be a totally different game.
yeah.
What?
I mean, I can't wait to preseason.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
exactly.
real.
Get
Tell
a
me
real
something.
taste of some of the rotations and everything else.
One quick, one quick final question. One mandatory jersey purchase. Whose jersey are you buying?
Um, because I don't have one yet, it's gotta be RJ.
I'm
It's
going
gotta
with
be
Deuce.
RJ.
I'm going to have a McBride one.
Deuce jersey. I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
I would go RJ as well because I don't have one, but if I had an RJ jersey, I buy a Mitch jersey. Although I probably turn that thing right around and probably have to get the American Express jersey assurance, just because I'm so concerned about what's gonna happen with that man on this team.
As am I. As am I.
But it's always a pleasure to be with y'all, fellas. Andy, thanks for joining. Tone, thanks for the invite. Salute to the chat. Salute to the panel. I'm gonna tune into that Queen's Court.
Oh yeah, we
You know what
got
I mean?
I ain't gonna give it away, but we got some things to discuss.
Hey,
So
okay,
it's
that's what's
gonna be
up.
a beautiful one, and I guess we play at 7.
Mhm.
So I'm sure Sim got the post game going. If he don't have a pregame going, he might have that coming up too. But yeah, MBK
NYK all
fan,
day, baby.
your blackest time. Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for joining. Salute. See you next one.
Peace, fam.
One.